Hey friends, it's me, Lauren Hope, aka Lolo of Good Girl Chronicles. Girl, girl, girl. Okay, before I tell you about my hot mess video slash editing issues, let me just do my spiel. I am a blogger, mental health advocate, motivational speaker, and storytelling host. And right here on my YouTube channel, I'll be featuring like videos about storytelling nights and life vlogs. I like to talk about love, sex, relationships, spirituality, mental health. It's like a life blog. The last couple of vlogs I spoke about were like my relationship, and I spoke about mental health. And girl, that's what we're gonna get to. I'm so frustrated. I okay. This is Boo Bear, and he is ready to go. You gonna leave? Okay, bye. So many of you know, if you follow this channel, that I used to be a television reporter, but like honestly, I didn't spend a lot of my career shooting or editing video, which is really sad because I wish I had that skill now, and I did have it at one point. So anywho, I got I got like a ring light and all of this stuff, and I uploaded, or I've been trying to upload this video or export it from the editor for the last 4 or 5 days. I know that I'm doing something wrong. I'm exporting it wrong. Oh, so frustrating. And I just want to chuck the computer. So I'm done. I'm done. I am going to look at some tutorials on Adobe Premiere, which is the editing software that I have, and we will try this again at a later date. But I didn't want that to hold me back from posting my weekly vlog, trying to stay consistent. So, really cool, awesome thing happened last month. It's now August 1st. Last month, the ABC affiliate here in my area did a profile on me in Good Girl Chronicles, like why I left the news business, my mental illness, my suicide attempt, and then just kind of the things that I'm doing with storytelling nights. And it was so beautifully done. It came out yesterday. The feedback has been amazing. And yeah, I mean, last night, sorry. Last night it came out, and I just was so emotional, like just watching where I've come in my journey, seeing myself in old news clips. Like, it just brought back like so many memories, and I just really had to like process it. Honestly, it was like it was bittersweet, as it always is when I reflect on my past. It's sweet because I'm so happy and thankful that I'm on this side, but then bitter because I still miss my journalism career. So yeah. The station will post the video or the documentary series to their YouTube channel, and so once they do that, I'll like make it a suggested video or whatever so you guys can see it. But if you're curious, it's 13 News Now, the Muse Project, and you can check that out. So I guess I've assumed that since I have been vlogging or sharing my life on social media for the last 3 years, I assumed that most people know how I became homeless and all of that stuff. But I'm meeting new people, and a lot of them are like, "You were homeless for a year?" And I'm like, "Oh, I thought that was common knowledge." So the next couple of vlogs, I'm going to write about how I became homeless, what it was like being homeless, like what my experience was like. It's different for everybody, and what I learned. The really hard thing about me talking about how I became homeless is because it was a lot of things that contributed to it. It wasn't just one thing. Also, I don't want to come off as angry or bitter. Like, I've worked a lot on like issues I have with my family, my mental illness, like my abandonment, rejection issues. Like, I've worked on that a lot, and I've also really worked on coming to a place of forgiveness for the people that were not there for me the way I needed them to be when my life was falling apart. And so I just want to say before I share this that this is my truth. This is what I experienced, and I just want to say that, and I just have to be okay with like however people. Ooh, something. I'm trying not to freak out. There's like little tree frogs back here, and that's what just fell from the sky. Like, there's like an awning, as you can see. Frogs give me the EBGBs. Oh my gosh, so sorry. I'm gonna focus. This is why people have editors, okay? And this is why they edit for things like that. Oh, it's sitting right there. Most people would look at this little tree frog and be like, oh, it's so cute. concentrate. So I'm very transparent about my mental health journey, about being homeless, but I do have to combat these feelings of like worrying about what people are going to say or what they're going to think or whatever. And I have to just accept that this is my truth, and I know it's not coming from a malicious place. Yeah. So the factors that led to my homelessness. Well, before I talk about like what happened, I definitely had a really like almost charmed existence growing up. I was a Navy brat. My stepdad was in the Navy. My mother worked in the healthcare field, and I just don't remember a lot of times in our childhood where we did without. Like, even when my parents were going through it and they were like going through a divorce and bankruptcy and that stuff got hard, I just never really did without, really. And then when they got remarried, the money, like things were better for them financially, so there was always money there. And I was never taught about money or saving or budgeting or anything like that. I always thought that my parents were going to have my back, just always. Is that frog looking at me? Oh my god, please don't hop over here, sorry. I always thought that my parents were going to have my back, always. I always thought I was going to have a financial security blanket, and that was very stupid and naive on my part. So even in my early 20s, I didn't save. I did not save. My mother and I were really close, and my mother was a spender, so I got money and I spent it. I racked up credit card debt in college, not a lot, but I racked up debt, and I just didn't save, and I didn't plan for the future because I always thought my parents were going to have my back. And I thought when I became like a really big time reporter, by the time I was 30, I was going to have money and I was going to be married. So I just didn't plan for the future, and I'm trying to do that now. So that was one of the reasons that was a huge factor in my homelessness. When the bottom fell out, I had nothing to fall back on. I was too dependent and reliant on my parents. And, now I'm having to learn things like budgeting and, savings and IRAs and CDs now in my 30s. I'm glad to be learning this now and not like in my 60s, but so now I'm trying to do the things now that will set me up to have a cushion, and to not end up on the street again. So that's a really big factor that I have to take responsibility for that led to my homelessness. So, so after my suicide attempt in 2014, I owned a condo at the time, but I really wasn't paying the whole mortgage. My parents were paying for a big portion of it. Another big mistake. I should have been budgeting to be able to afford that mortgage, or I shouldn't have moved into that place. But I wanted to live on my own, and I loved this place. And so then after I survived my suicide attempt, I went to a psychiatric facility for 5 days. And I don't know, when I got out, there was no post-care plan or any support afterwards. I didn't address what had led me to that attempt. It was just like, okay, she's going to take FMLA leave and then she's going to go back and it's all good. But I had some deep-rooted issues that I did not address. And I don't know that my parents knew how serious it was or what to do or how to cope with it. So, the frog is gone. Sorry. Okay, it's gone. So for about almost 2 years after that, I was in a major depressive episode. I resigned from my job and I worked at a retail job for nothing. And then during that whole time, my parents were paying 90% of my mortgage. What I was making was not covering the mortgage. I had a roommate at the time, so she paid half, and my parents basically paid my half. Yeah, that's more how it worked out. She paid half, and my parents paid my half. I guess, I don't know. I don't know why I didn't get help sooner. I think it looked like I was okay. I was going to work or whatever. I was putting on a brave face for people. And I definitely wasn't talking to them about other suicide plans I had made or attempts or, I don't know. And so it really became present to them that I wasn't doing well, like in December, like late 2015. And they were like, you need to move in with us, and we're going to help you get back on your feet because you're obviously not doing well. You need to rent your condo. You'll rent your condo out for a year or so while you're getting on your feet. And the money you get from that condo, you save, you use it, you live off of it while you figure out what to do, what's next. And, that sounded plausible. At that point, I really could not take care of myself. I was like pulling my hair out, like pulling scabs off my face. I was in bad shape. And honestly, like, when I was living in my condo during that time, I wasn't even really there. Like, I was really ashamed to show what depression was doing to me, that I hid from my roommate. Like, that poor girl, I can't even. I've like tried to apologize to her, but like, I don't know. That's just one of those relationships that I lost because of my mental illness that I don't think will ever be restored. Um, and it's not that I did anything malicious. I just wasn't a good roommate. I just wasn't there. I hid from her. I was like, really short, and I don't know. So anyways, so early 2016, my roommate had made plans to move into her own place, or she was moving, which I think was good. And then I was like basically with my parents like all the time. And I mean, I honestly was kind of happy because I felt like, okay, I'm not hiding the fact that my life is a mess and that I'm depressed, and I don't have to be like alone. And there's a lot of parts of the story of this part of the story that, like, I don't know. I want to say, but I'm afraid to say. Oh my god, that frog is right there. Oh my god. All right, I'm gonna practice Zen-like discipline and ignore the fact that that little frog is right there by my phone. Anyways, there's parts. It saddens me what has happened to my family, like the way they reacted to my mental illness, the things that they have done. But I've forgiven them, so I have grace for them, and so I don't honestly sometimes want to tell everybody everything that they did, because it just wasn't kind, it wasn't good, and it was a big part of my homelessness. And it's not to bash them, it is what it is. So when I moved in with them, so I say all of that to say that I'm going to sugarcoat a lot of what I'm saying. So I moved in with them, and my mother suggested that I rent my condo to a friend of hers, which I did against my better judgment. This woman that my mother wanted me to rent to was horrible with her finances, had even screwed my mother over, like when it came to money. But I just felt like in such a weak state that I had to do everything my parents said. And anytime that I tried to fight them or counter, they came at me so aggressively. So I was just like, okay, these people know better than I do because I'm majorly depressed. I just need to do whatever they say. And so yeah, so she moves into the to the condo, and I move in with my parents. And I would say probably about like March or April of 2016, I wrote my first blog about my suicide attempt. And I honestly just didn't really think that my parents cared what I was going to do with my life, as long as I was going to do something with it. But they were very, at first they were like, okay, all right, that's cool. But then I started coming on YouTube and talking about it and vlogging about it more, and wanting to go out and publicly talk about surviving suicide. Oh my god, this frog is looking right at me. This is why I hate, this is why they give me the EBGBs. Oh, jeez. All right. So yeah, but the more I started to talk about it, the more that our exterior family started to find out. Like, family members that had never called before were calling, like, I saw this thing on YouTube that Lauren posted, what does this mean? Or have her take it down, she's never going to get a job that way. And they just came down on me so hard, and I really didn't understand what was wrong with what I was doing, because I was sharing it, and people were sharing their stories with me, and I was feeling better and feeling like less alone and less lonely. And so I'm just like, I don't understand why this is bad. And I didn't feel like it was bad. So I fought back, and I said, you have no idea what you're talking about. Like, I feel like I found my thing. Like, this blog can be like a business. And I started an LLC, and they were, again, they were along for the ride at first, and then they were not. They wouldn't support the business or blog at all. And they became really angry, and it caused a lot of tension between us. Again, I'm sugarcoating a lot. And this blog gave me my voice back. The fact that I was like writing about my mental illness and things like that, and that people were responding and mirroring back to me that it was good. I mean, I felt confident and okay. Like I was reemerging as, oh my God, the frog is on my phone. I knew this was gonna freaking happen. Oh my God. Are frogs symbols for good luck? This is so gross. I'm gonna finish. And hopefully, I mean, we're gonna stay on this phone until this frog gets off my phone. That's what I know. I'm not touching that frog. It's like this small, but it's giving me the heebie-jeebies. If it jumps on me, we're done. Anywho, um, sorry, I can't concentrate. There's a little tree frog right there. Um, it just got tense. It just got really, really tense. And I don't need to tell you the nitty gritty. It got so tense that I was afraid. Oh my God, please jump away. Please jump away. This is going to be the funniest vlog ever. Oh my God, I'm just going to scoot away. It's looking, okay, he's going to jump away. All right, he's gone. I'm telling you, there was a frog right there. But, and I don't want to tell the nitty gritty of every single thing that happened because I just don't feel it's necessary. It got to the point where I'll put it this way, I was concerned about being physically harmed, that someone was going to place their hands on me in that home because I wasn't complying the way that they wanted me to. Things came to a head one night where I was really scared, honestly. And I called an officer to the home, and he said to me, you just need to leave. Take as much stuff as you can, go to your room, lock the door, and stay there. And in the morning, leave first thing in the morning. And I thought, yeah, it is coming to a head. At the time, like there were some weeks where I would stay at my friend's house like 3-4 nights at a time. You know, I was talking to my therapist about what was happening, and she was like, Lauren, this does not sound good. Like, you need to get out of this environment. I'm like, where am I supposed to go? I've rented my condo to my mom's friend. Like, what am I supposed to do? And so I left. And I remember looking at my mother through the screen glass window for the last time. And I just knew that I wasn't going to be able to come back. I just knew it. I just had a feeling that was going to be it. But there's still, well, no, let me take that back. That's not true. When I saw it, I was just like, this is going to blow over. But that was like the last time that, like, one of the last times I was at the house. The other time was to, like, get my stuff that they put on the curb. Wow. But after that, you know, I like stayed with a friend, and I was just like, I don't know what I'm going to do. I have no savings. I have no job. My condo is, someone lives in my condo right now. What am I going to do? And then I got a email from my stepfather 5 days later that was like, you know, we love you. We don't know who you are anymore. And like, if you're going to live in this house, like all of this stuff you're doing, it has to stop. But your mother has changed the locks on the door. And that for me was like all I could see in that email was that she's changed the locks, which said to me, I really don't want you here, because it had just never gotten that drastic. And so I was just like, I'm not going back, you know. And I told them, I said, hey, you know, honestly, if you want to fix this, I'll talk to you like with a counselor present or like a spiritual advisor, but I'm never going to talk to you two just by yourselves, because, you know, my parents had made a lot of threats about like institutionalizing me. Like, I mean, it was bad, y'all. It was really bad. And even so much to say that, listen, you really have no control over your life. Like, I could put you away like that. And that is the fact. I'm not saying that to be malicious towards my parents. That's the facts. And so that just angered me, because I felt immediately rejected, immediately abandoned. And but I still think that part of me thought that they were going to say, I'm sorry, like, let's work this out. Like, you know, it doesn't have to be this way. But it just got worse. It just got so much worse after that. It got worse. And so for the summer of 2016, I couch surfed for a while. You will find out who your real friends are when you have no place to go. you'll find out who your real friends are. Um, and after a while, like I would go through my phone. I'm like, I can't call this person. I can't call this person. I would call people and tell them my situation. And granted, part of it was because I was in such a deep depression for 2 years. So many people hadn't heard from me. So I had lost like friendship capital with them, if you if you will. But still, you will be very surprised who your friends are when you say, I'm living with a mental illness and it's come to a head with my family and I have no place to stay. And so then in like July, for a good part of July 2016, I lived in my office that I had rented out. So any money that I got from my condo, I spent to pay for this office space for my business. And I would sleep under my desk. I'd get up in the morning and take a hoe bath, which is basically in your kumquat in the bathroom. And then I thought, okay, I'm still getting this money from my condo. I'm just going to keep getting that money. I'm going to live off of it and I'm going to find a job and I'm going to rebound. Well, then the tenant stops paying rent. And I have to go through all of the formal processes of filing an eviction, getting possession of the house, which my mother fought because that was her friend. But she literally stopped paying rent. And I was at risk for foreclosure. And I said, listen, I'll be homeless, but I don't want a foreclosure on my credit at this point. And, sidebar, my parents repossessed the car they gifted to me and then told the police that I stole it. It's just the facts. So I'm doing all of this like with no car and no support. And they did initially, this is the hard part to talk about. So after they put me out, or they changed the locks in May of 2016, so from like May to July, we had no contact. But I very stupidly was friends with a lot of people that they knew on social media. And so, I was talking, I had gotten like a lawyer, and the lawyer said, based on what you told me about your parents and the threats that they've made, you probably should like just move to, if you know anyone who lives out of state, like move and stay with them, lay low for a while until this blows over and then come back. Or maybe you just really need to start over if they're making threats of, doing all this stuff to you. And that was my intention. And so, in August, my parents had me temporarily detained, or TDO'd, against my will. And they had told the magistrate that I had multiple personality disorder, that I was having a psychotic break, that I was hearing voices because I felt that God spiritually talked to me, that my alter ego's name was Lolo, which is my nickname. And it was hell. Those 8 days in the psych ward that they put me there was hell. They took me into the psych ward in handcuffs, cuffed here and on my feet. They, every day that I was there, threatened to inject me with a strong ass medicine known as Haldol. It was pure hell. And I remember my mother calling, like laughing and like cackling almost, that she had gotten me. And I saw them when they came to one of my court hearings, and I said, I hope you know now that we are done, that we're done. And I meant it. I meant it. To me, that was just the ultimate betrayal. And honestly, like there were other kids, adults or whatever, that were in there because their parents had used the mental health system to get them in line. And I had like a public defender because, I had to prove my competency. It's ridiculous. And my public defender had heard me speak at a church a couple months prior. And I told her, I was like, honestly, this is so bizarre. Like, my parents had made these threats before. Like, honestly, at this point in the game, if I needed to be here, I'd comply with that. But, like, I really am not suicidal. Like, I don't have multiple personality disorder. I am not suffering from psychosis. This is something my parents have done to punish me for what I've done to them. And she says to me, she says, Lauren, the mental health system is fractured in this state. And unfortunately, once you're in this psych ward under a TDO, it's damn hard to get out. She's like, there's nothing I can do for you. And I believe everything that you're telling me, but there's no way out of this. Take every pill they tell you, just do what they say, keep your head down and do what you have to do to get out. And I just wasn't willing to accept that. I'm telling you, y'all, like every day, these people were trying to put like 4, 5, 6 drugs in my system. And my first couple days in the psych ward, people are walking around like zombies. And I said, I'm not. And I said, you know what? I will gladly take the prescribed medicine that I was prescribed before I came here, which is an SSRI. And they were like, absolutely not. You're being non-compliant and this and that. And um, the most bizarre thing. They're like, if you keep fighting this, we'll inject you with Haldol every single day. I'm shitting you not. This is what happened. And then I had to call like a patient advocate who had me moved to a different floor because some of the nurses were doing shady shit on one of the levels. And so in group, we would hang out afterwards and we would talk. And I would talk about my blog, Good Girl Chronicles. And they would be like, oh my God, this girl's making up shit. I actually had planned to give a public speech, like one of my first major suicide prevention talks, and a senator by the name of Senator Prt1 was going to be there, and I was like so angry that I was going to miss this speaking engagement and this opportunity to meet him because of my spiteful ass parents. And so one day, one of the social workers were like, hey, everyone keeps talking about it says you have this blog called Good Girl Chronicles. Is that true? And I said, yeah. So the social worker actually went home that night and looked at it, and I had written a blog about how tense things were with my family, the threats that they had made. The next day, y'all, the doctor comes out and says, hey, you ready to get out of here? I said, yeah. And they're like, well, we read your blog and it substantiated a lot of things that you said, so we'll let you out. No apology, no I'm sorry, whatever. It was like, we'll let you out. And I walked into this room with like a bunch of doctors and nurses and case people with things. They're like, are you gonna kill yourself? Are you gonna kill anybody else? Okay, fine, let her go. And that's how I got out. And after that, I really had nowhere to go. I was working with a Christian realtor who was helping me sell my home. And the condo sold in September or October of 2016. And then I trusted this really bad guy to live with him, and I thought that he was going to help me get back on my feet. And I think he saw me as a payday. Like, I moved in with this dude, and he had ketchup and mustard in his house, and that was it. I was like, on the outside, his house looked like a mansion, but he was struggling. And I think he saw me, a former TV reporter, as a jackpot, and he knew I was selling my condo. And when he realized the money wasn't coming, he got really aggressive, and I had to leave. And that's when it became real that I was homeless. That's when it became real. I took the money, the money that I made from the condo, which was really not that much, and I slept in hotels. I ate, and that was the beginning. That was the beginning of my homeless journey. So I've shared a lot more than I anticipated, and I might regret this later. But that is the beginning. And so part 2, I will talk about what it was like for me really to be homeless, the couch surfing, the hotel hopping, all of that kind of stuff. And then some things that I've learned about myself, my people, myself, about people, and what it's really like to get help out there, because it's not as easy as you think when it comes to being homeless. Also, I just want to say, I am not bashing psychiatric hospitals by any means. Like, in a lot of situations, it helps people rebuild their lives. This experience was not good for me. And I think now that I'm to a really good recovered place, and I've been to a couple of facilities, like through my job, the care could have been a lot better. And my hope one day as an advocate is to really talk to people about how we treat people who are in psychiatric facilities. And can we do that in a way that shows empathy and compassion and humanity? Because I felt stripped of a lot of my humanity the last time I was in. Did we just have a therapy session? Oh, man. If you want to learn more about me or what I do, you can go to my website, goodgirlchronicles.com. I'm also on Facebook and Instagram on Good Girl Chronicles LLC. Love to connect with you. If you've shared a similar story or any of this connected to you, comment below. I'd really love that. Or also hit that subscribe. Next week, I will talk about what homelessness was really like, what I learned about myself, about people, and what it's really like out there. As we say here at Good Girl Chronicles, I love you. I love God more. See you next time.